So we have looked Annamaya Kosha very closely last time, Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmananda Valli, and progressing ahead, we just started with the Pranamaya Kosh, and today we will look at Pranamaya Kosh, and if the time permits, we will go ahead and also look Manomaya Kosh. So I was actually going through the verses, and I was wondering the way it has been written. It is so easy to get trapped into कोशा itself. अन्नमय में ही अटक गए कि अन्नमय को कैसे ठीक करें, तो हम भोजन के प्रकार में अटक जाते हैं. Then we start becoming very particular about the tamasic food and the rajasic food and all that. Now that is good. I mean, no problems with that. The only challenge is if somebody gets stuck there. And when I went through the Pranamaya Kosha, I found this challenge even more, because we have seen this in the group, and it is our general tendency. We keep asking for methods and techniques and different types of meditation techniques, something that will help us get more centered, more grounded, more silent, etc. And the Pranamaya Kosha has a lot of such things to offer. We will look at where all do you get that from, etc., and what are the things available. Yes, my very strong caution is don't get stuck there. Please remember, Rishi says these are kosha, means treasure. हर एक खजाने को खोल करके आगे जाना होता है, क्योंकि जब हम उपनिषद के पास जाते हैं तो ऋषि की इच्छा या ऋषि का उद्देश्य या ध्येय ये कोश नहीं है. ऋषि का ध्येय ब्रह्म है. वो अपने शिष्यों को ब्रह्म के विषय की जिज्ञासा को शांत कर रहे हैं. वो अपने शिष्यों को ये बता रहे हैं कि तुम ब्रह्म तक कैसे पहुंचो. तो ये सीढ़ियां हैं, और इनको यदि हम समझ गए तो दो बातें होंगी. पहला, हम इनको अपने लिए ऊपर जाने के लिए उपयोगी कर सकते हैं, और दूसरा, हम जो है इनमें अटकने से बच सकते हैं. तो ये दो बहुत जबरदस्त फायदे हैं जिसको ध्यान में रखना आवश्यक है, और it's important that we save ourselves from getting stuck here. Okay, with this backdrop, let's enter to the Pranamaya Kosha. So we saw that in second chapter, and every chapter has got 2 paragraphs to it. The first paragraph is detailing of the specific kosha, and the second paragraph is a movement into the next kosha. So the second chapter, second paragraph, tasmatva etasmadan anna rasamayat anyontar atma pranamaya. And it says that then after, the Atma of Annamaya is the Pranamaya. Tenesha Purnaha Tava Esha Purushavidha. Purushavidha is Purush tak pahunchne ki seedhi, the gateway to Purush. And who is Purush? Purush is, when we go to the Sankhya philosophy, it is used for Atman. Purush hai, Prakriti hai, Purush Achal hai. Prakriti is the various manifestation in variety of it. So Purush is Brahma. And then it says Tasya Purush Vidatam Anvayam Purush Vidaha Tasya Prana Eva Shira. And then the bird structure that we look at for the Annamaya Kosha, again the same thing we see for the Pranamaya Kosha. Tasya Prana Eva Shira. So the prana or prana vayu. So when it comes to prana vayu, Pranamaya Kosha has got 5 vayus which have been categorized by the rishis. Different names have been given because through their yogic practices, they understood that each Vayu has got a different function that it takes care of. So Pranavayu eva shiraha vyano dakshinaha pakshaha. Vyanavayu is the dakshin wing, the left wing. Apana uttara paksha. Apana vayu is the uttar paksha. Akash atma. Akash is also the word for udana vayu. And then prithvi pushtam pratishtha. So that is the fifth vayu. Tadapyesha shloko bhavati. So this is how the shloka finishes. Now let's get into some detailing. Before we get into more detail, I just thought I'll share with you all the functions of the 5 Vayus, how they are represented in our body. And I'm sharing a screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is how the pranic body looks like. If you see the chest area, this area is pranavayu. The exteriors, that the arms and the feet, the legs, they are supposed to be carrying udana vayu. They have the impact of udana vayu. This central area, which is the samana vayu, the digestive area, is the samana vayu. And this portion, the pelvic region and the intestines, etc., this is dominated by apana vayu. Apana vayu looks at the necessary functions here. And Vyana vayu is something that is the Rishi says that it pervades the whole body. So it is there in the entire body. So this is how the Vayus are demonstrated, illustrated. Now, if you look at Pranavayu, we have seen that it is in the area of your chest, lungs, and all. So that is its function also. And each Vayu has got functions at 2 levels. There is a gross level function, which is the function in the Annamaya Kosha, and then there is a subtle level function. So the moment you talk of subtle level function, you will start moving towards the Manomaya Kosha, which is the third kosha. So in the gross level function, Pranavayu, it maintains heart and lungs, and it takes care of all the activities in the chest region, breathing, swelling, circulation of blood, etc. Subtly, it is responsible for intake of impression of ideas. So whenever we absorb anything, the sanskara are left. Those impressions is taken care by Pranavayu. Then there is Apanavayu. Apanavayu at the grosser level, it takes care of kidney, bladder, and all that. You see the excretory reproductive organs. Here is the Apanavayu. In fact, now I'm bringing this here, although this is not exactly in the context of Upanishad. The entire facade around, not the facade, actually that's an incorrect word, but the entire thing that we see around menstruation cycle, about ladies not entering the temple and all those things, the seclusion practices of not eating things, of not touching things, that comes from the function of Apanavayu. So what they say is and I'm talking of the temples which are known to be consecrated, not the regular ones. It is said that they are not really the temple, they are the energy centers. And what is the function of energy system? It is supposed to take your energy upwards, so through the chakras towards the top. Now, Apanavayu dominates the lower chakras. You have Mooladhara and the Swadhisthana. But what happens when you go to consecrated places, especially during these times, your Apana Vayu starts moving upwards under the impact of the energy circle of that space. And that causes a lot of troubles with respect to menstruation and also the reproduction status. It is exactly for that reason that temples, etc., they have been said no to. Now there is a whole movement moving around that, and that is also the reason for the Sabrimala stuff, because Sabrimala is supposed to be the Moksha Dham, and there are people who talk of the way temples have been constructed, and before Sabrimala there are 6 more temples to be visited, and they are all created in a way that they impact each chakra. So starting from the Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, the Manipur, Anahat, and then in that sequence. And Sabrimala is something that impacts your Sahasrara. And there are a lot of cases wherein females have actually reported that visiting those temples, how it has totally taken their system for toss. So those are the reasons actually why those things happen. Now, why I always said is that these are the things that also make us stuck. So I happen to be part of a group wherein these things were very strongly discussed. And then I said, my God, there is so much of body centricity here. As it is, these are certain functions that happen. Consciously, if we cannot move out of the body centricity, then spirituality is not about us, for us. Because spirituality says that all that is happening in the body is happening in the body. If you are so badly impacted by it, then you can't move ahead. Then all the Atman and all these things are not for you. And this is one huge, I would say, caution not to get stuck here. Please go ahead and get all the information that you want, but make a conscious choice if you want to stay here or you want to move ahead. Then Saman Vayu is the one that balances the temperature, and it is responsible for the metabolism. Okay, the Apan Vayu subtle level stuff is it removes negative emotion. That is its function. Saman Vayu is digestion. So all the mind stuff that we get in our minds and we are not able to digest, etc. So Saman Vayu takes care of all that on the subtle level, and otherwise it takes care of the metabolism. And as the very name says, Samana, it balances the Jataragni and the body temperature, and hence it impacts the digestive system and the areas. Then we have Udana Vayu, and Udana Vayu operates in the extremities. We have seen in the head and hand region and the leg region, and it is responsible for our function of the Gyanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. The 2 Karmendriyas are taken care by Apana Vayu, which is the excretory and the reproductive, that is the genitals, and the Udana Vayu takes care of the hands, feet, and speech. On the subtle level, it allows performance of positive mental work. And you see that on the subtle level, everything that is that these Vayus are impacting is actually the mental level activities. So it is indicating how it is moving towards the Manomaya Kosha. Udana Vayu is also responsible for sweet, melodious, and impressive speech. And then the 5th Vayu is the Vyana Vayu, which pervades the entire body, and it is like the reserve that when any of these Vayus, they are in deficit, Udana Vayu comes to kind of rescue and support it. So a lot of times wherein you are very tired and all of a sudden you feel energetic because you have mentally told yourself maybe that, no, I need to be energetic at this moment, at this place, etc., etc. So it is the function of Udana Vayu, because of which all that energy movement happens. This was, I thought something it could be interesting to share, because I have seen that when it comes to Pranamaya Kosh, people have a lot of questions on that. And if you want to know more about that, then there is a book that I would recommend. You will get that on Amazon also. There is a book called Prana and Pranamaya. This is from Yoga Publication Trust, Munger, Bihar. It is from Bihar School of Yoga. And There are a couple of books. There is Prana and Pranamaya. There is Swara Yoga, which is about different, and they also have a lot of techniques, pranayam techniques. Yeah. So there is Swara Yoga. There are many other books from this publication, and so you can check out that. So in this book, they not only talk of how prana impacts the five sheaths, but also and their functions in detail, but also about the impact on chakras and then many such things. So a lot of people who are looking at or wanting to find out meditative practices, you can check out from there. My caution and very strong caution once again, please don't get stuck here. The idea is to move ahead. Anything that you do here, it has to support you to move ahead. It has to help you go beyond it, because the goal, if at all I can say, is the is the Atman, which is even beyond Anandamaya Kosh. And for most of us, the sad news is that we are stuck in the Annamaya Kosha itself. So moving ahead. So this could be the trap also, and this could also become your CD. Right. Now, going ahead to the third chapter, wherein a little detail about the pranamaya has been talked of. Rishi says, pranam deva anu prananti. So, manushyaha pashvascha ye. प्राणो हि भूतानामायुः तस्मात् सर्वायुमुच्यते सर्वमेव आयुर्युषन्ति ये प्राणं ब्रह्मोपासते प्राणो हि भूतानामायुः तस्मात् सर्वायुमुच्यत इति. Let me just share the translation of the same. Yeah. Okay. So it says pranam deva anu prananti. So it's actually, it should be deva here, but why it's organized, I'll just explain that to you. The organs follow prana, and that enables them to perform their respective duties. Whether they are organs of human beings or organs of animals, the same principle holds good. Prana gives life to all living beings. That is why prana is called Sarvayusham, which is Sarva Ayusham, the life of all living beings. Those who worship prana as a Brahman or Brahma attains the full span of life. Since all living beings get their life from prana, it is called Sarvayusham, the life of all beings. This prana is the indwelling self of the Annamaya Kosha, the sheath of food mentioned earlier. Now, why is the prana deva? Why the deva follow prana? So every time when we go to the Upanishads, they look to be really secretive and they are very contextual. Here, what is the Rishi wanting to say is that Deva is referring to things that shine. So when you look at the deities, for us, they are like very luminous and shining. And we long for their blessings because we want our life to be equally shining and luminous. Now, what is that eliminates objects for us? And what is that brings that, I'm feeling short of words. So what is that brings this, brings the gati, the movement in our life? So that is nothing but our Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas. So the sense organs and the organs of action, and then the Antahakarana. The Rishi says that all this actually follow prana. So the Gyanendriyas and the Karmendriyas, they all, and the Antakarana, they all follow prana. And we just saw the function of all the various kinds of pranavayu, and it is hence evident that how pranavayu is, how pranamaya kosh is actually controlling and dictating various functions in our body. And not to forget, when we are talking of pranamaya kosha, we are not talking of the sthula sharira. We are going little subtler. We haven't yet gone too subtle, but at least little subtle than the Annamaya Kosha, the gross body that can be seen. Pranamaya Kosha can't be seen by the gross eyes. Gross is not capable ever to see the subtle. And that principle holds good here also. So that is how it is. And okay, and it is very also interesting when I was going through a few of the, this thing on Taittiriya Upanishad, I found that even every Gyanendriya and Karmendriya and Antakarana, they all have also been given associated deities. And when I look at that, and if you look at the deities, I was just taking notes. The deities are for the Gyanendriya. So for sound, direction, that is the deity. Direction is all the disha. That is the deity. For sensation, Vayu is the deity. Wind. For eyes, Aditya or sun is the deity. For taste, Varuna is the deity, which is who is supposed to be the deity of water. And for smell, Prithvi is the deity. And you notice that the deities are not the typical deities the way we have as Ramakrishna and Shiva and all that, but it is the nature which is controlling all the action. And that's a simple meaning. Nature is dictating entire thing when it comes to the sustenance of physical body, movement of physical body, anything and everything that is happening at the gross level. And that is why the deities also are from the Prakriti, from the existence. So they all follow the Prana Sharir, Pranamaya Kosha. Then it says that जो भी हो, मनुष्य हो या प्राणो ही भूतानामायु. For every bhuta is the word used for everything made from the 5 elements, पंचभूत. तो पंचभूत से जो कुछ भी बना है, यहाँ तक कि जो जिनको हम कहते हैं कि जीवित नहीं है, like all your material stuff, उनमें भी प्राण होता है. हालांकि उनके प्राण में वो गति नहीं होती है, किंतु प्राण उनके पास ही होता है. तो हर एक वस्तु, व्यक्ति, मनुष्य, जीवित या अजीवित जो भी कुछ है, ये सब कुछ प्राणमय कोश के प्रिंसिपल को फॉलो करते हैं. तस्मात् सर्व आयु मच्यते. That says, okay, प्राण ही प्राणी समुदाय का आयु है. If you remember, in Annamaya Kosh, the word used was Aushadhi. The food is the medicine. And here, Prana is the Ayu. Ayu is referring to the age. And as we understand, till the time Prana remains, the age remains. One's life in this form, in this specific form, remains. And the exit of life form is exit of all the pranas. So that is what keeps it moving. So Tasmat, that's why Prana is the Ayu of all. Sarvamev the Ayuryanti, and this is for everyone. Ye Pranam Brahmopasate. Now, the one who does the upasana of Prana as a Brahma, Prano hi Bhutana Mayuhu, and again it is the repetition of what it is said. So, जो प्राण को ब्रह्म के समान जो प्राण की ब्रह्म के समान उपासना करते हैं क्योंकि प्राण ही प्राणियों का आयु है, then it says that that person gets the key to the pranamaya kosha and moves ahead to the next kosha. And that's where it is coming to say in the next paragraph, tasya esha eva sharira atma yah purvasya tasmadva etasmat pranamayat anyontara atma manomayah. So the moment you get the keys to the pranamaya kosha, when you understand how it is functioning and you move beyond that, because either through, and it is equally true. So if you can control the prana, your annamaya kosha automatically falls at line. In exactly the way your body and mind is connected. So the entire stuff around body language is because body follows mind blindly. Similarly, just by working on your thought process, you can automatically take care of your body language. So they are reciprocatory. They vice versa it functions. You can take care of your body language and thought process can be manipulated or tamed or whatever. For example, if you just sit straight, you will see certain attention comes in you immediately for a moment. You slide down while sitting, the attention automatically goes. Similarly, the moment you become attentive, you will notice that all of a sudden you have started to sit straight. And when you want to relax, when you want to feel lethargic, sliding down and lying down just happens. So mind and body, they are following each other equally. Similarly, if pranamaya kosha is taken care of, annamaya kosha is automatically taken care of. And so if manomaya kosha is taken care of, pranamaya kosha is automatically taken care of. Because what did we see? We saw that pranamaya kosha, a lot of its subtle activities is about the impression and ideas and the negative thoughts and the positive thoughts. Something that supports you in moving ahead, in staying in faith, in surrender, or something that becomes overpowering when you are only regressing and getting negative, etc. So a lot on the level of mind is happening. And that's why the moment you are in a position to open the treasure of the pranamaya kosha, the movement towards manomaya kosha happens. And I was actually wondering that there is so much to pranamaya kosha. I mean, the way just we saw a little bit of it. Rishi could have actually taken us into the pranamaya kosha at great depth. Why did he not? And that brings me to the same answer. The purpose is not to get trapped in the 5 kosha. The purpose is to understand that there is a way when you move from gross to subtle. So there are certain steps or certain milestones, whatever you would like to call. And these are that. Rishi is not interested in giving us details about all that because Rishi is not interested in us getting stuck there. Rishi wants us to move ahead. And so he tells us that yes, pranamaya kosha exists. And this is how it impacts. The one who will actually worship prana as a Brahma will understand the And what does it mean to actually do the upasana of prana as a Brahman? It means that you are conscious enough to understand how prana functions, and hence not getting into the automatic trap. So what happens when we allow negative thoughts to happen? Automatically we see that apana vayu is very, very active. Similarly, the other vayu. So, and the same thing also applies to Annamaya Kosha. What does it mean to do the upasana of Annamaya? It simply means that you become conscious, and last session we talked a lot about going beyond the body. What does it really mean to go beyond the body? Does that mean the body would not exist? No. It does not mean the body will go somewhere, or it will stop asking for food, or it will stop asking for rest. It simply means that the body functions are happening, and I am not impacted by body, and I do not identify with body. So yes, when hunger happens, I eat. When thirst happens, I drink. When the body wants rest because it has exhausted itself, it has exerted itself, I rest. But I don't become crazy. I am hungry, I am hungry, I am hungry. And I want this to eat and I want that to eat. Similarly, how much of time am I spending this? I'm not getting crazy about all that. That is what it means to move beyond the body. The body has fallen ill. I have not fallen ill. I might give a little more rest to the body, but that should not be crippling to me. The body might contract certain diseases which are bigger in magnitude, which gives us more pain. That does not mean that we get identified with it and we are crying with it. So much of pain, so much of this, so much of that. Allowing little more time maybe for the body to rest and still going ahead and functioning. That is what is meant by going beyond the body. And that demands that we separate ourselves from the body, move to the witnessing zone, and are able to observe the function of the body. You know, when my daughter was, I think 2-3 years old, and she had temperature, she had fever, and it did not look as if she has got any problem. She was equally active the way she is in her normal days. It is not the fever which cripples us. It is the concept that we need to take rest, and that, oh, you have got fever. Oh, that cripples us more. And I have experimented with this. When I got temperature, I mean, by grace, the way body is functioning, I don't really fall ill so easily. But when it does, in the normal flu circumstances, I have given an hour or two of extra rest to the body and have still been able to sustain. But yes, you will still have diseases. For example, COVID, it actually pulled, at least I don't know others, but it did pull me down. Yet, if there is too much of identification, that will not just pull you down on the physical level, that will also pull you down on the mental level. So, and the moment your mind becomes one with the challenges of the body, the possibility of overcoming is even worse. Because your mind, the way it functions, it has got a say in how your cells function. And so, if you are strong enough, you are not identified with the body, the cells repairing job is faster and recovery is faster, which otherwise is not. So then it says that Anyontar Atma Monomai. I think here I'll take pause and would like to ask you all anything that needs more discussion, any question arising, anything that you would like to share. You can unmute and do that. Such silence.
Topic
Yeah,
is
Richa.
Richa ji.
Yeah, Shiji.
I said topic is very good, is interesting. समझने के लिए time लग रहा है. So no questions from my side. I'm enjoying it. जो भी दिमाग में जा रहा हो. That's good.
Actually,
Yeah.
I would share that, yeah, I mean, you know, what you said is very perfect. You know, if you don't let, you know, the illness get in your head, then it's very easy to, you know, come out. Like, you know, recently somebody got COVID and we were like, oh my God. You know, I didn't even take it in my brain. I was like, okay, it's just a virus and it will go away. And it did. Like nothing happened. Nothing means nothing at all. Even though, like, you know, I had a history of, you know, some illness, so everybody was like, oh my God. And it's like, no, it's okay. It will go away. Gone. So it's very true, you know. I didn't initially, I didn't think of this in certain way, you know, the way you explained. So it's so clear now.
In fact, you know, this is one thing that bhakti does very strong. I was reading a book and I came across how how the hormones, they when the brain gives a signal, they come to the cell, and what is that the cell accepts and what is that the cell shut down to, completely rejects. And I read and I said, oh my God, this is like the Mira effect. Why? And I called it the Mira effect because we have heard the story that Mira drank the poison and nothing happened to her. And it looks like कहानी तो है और क्या है इसमें क्या सच्चाई है. That's how it looks. But no, it is not so. Our body is capable of even not reacting to poison. But it depends if you have that level of faith. And that is a challenging task, of course. To be, you know, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that those devotees who devote their entire life to me, I take care of them totally. And the word uses मैं उनका वहन करता हूँ. It's not just that मैं उनको सब कुछ प्रदान करता हूँ, ऐसा नहीं है. मैं उनको उठाता ही हूँ. I take care of them totally. It is actually like that. And when your every cell is saying, it is soaked in Atman, it is soaked in that surrender, it is soaked in that faith. It actually happens that your cells, they start transforming and they don't accept. I'll share a screenshot, picture of that stuff that I was reading. That is explained in this book. I am forgetting the name. I've shared that with so many people, and it totally it explains how this mind stuff overpowers your physiology. In that, it is describing how one man sitting on the ice, he was still sweating because his belief system was created in a way that he was made to believe that he is sitting on fire. So that's what he experienced, that's what his body experienced. And I was wondering what would happen because, you know, when I listen to certain bhakti stories and things like that, there is a sense of amazing fulfillment. It feels, oh my God, wow, I am being taken care of in every way, every time, whatever I need in life. And something happens. I can't explain that, but something happens which is very magical, very, very magical. And then I'm reminded of how beautiful it would be if one can live in that kind of surrender and trust 24 hours. 24 hours. And that's such a difficult thing. But to, so because we don't live in such surrender and trust, we do not want to believe what Krishna says. We would say, okay, Krishna said so. But no, it is not like that. It is divine. That is how it is. And then that's why Krishna also says that the way you worship me, I also worship you like that. तुम जैसे मुझे भजते हो, मैं भी तुम्हें वैसे ही भजता हूँ. So when you are in me, you get me. So the whole point is, when it says that Tanesha Purna, you get everything. If you do the upasana totally, you get everything. What does it really mean? Do you get pranamaya kosh? No. You get whatever you give yourself to. And that's true in the material world also, no? To get anything, one has to give oneself to that task. Then only you reach to the epitome. And we know that material world is nothing but manifestation of the subtle world. So it all is being carried. If I am soaked in Atman, I am taken care of enough. And that's the peace I will experience. That's the ecstasy I will experience. That's the ananda I will experience. Or rather, this is again such a contradictory thing, that experience with experiencing, but that's the ananda that I become. When I only become ananda, what else is required? Yeah? So it's coming back to the same question that we discussed in the group. Is satya and samadhi the same? Samadhi comes from the word samadhan. Samadhan is not about getting all the answers, but the dissolution of questions. And it is the questioner who puts up the questioner. And who questions? The one who is not in faith. Who is not in faith? Ego. Who else? So the dissolution of ego happens. And the moment that happens, samadhi automatically happens. So these are ways that help when you look at them to become more peaceful, to be able to simply devote yourself to the task that you are doing and move ahead, not getting stuck to the final results, expectations. Just do and move. I have seen that it greatly impacts our entire quality of work. Because the moment you are totally concentrated on work, whatever you're doing, you are creating content, you are creating a project, whatever you are doing. The moment you are totally into that, the quality it's amazing. Yeah. So then it says that anything that's to be discussed or something here. Shall we move? Okay. So now that word structure, it has been defined here also in the Pranamaya Kosh, and it says, Manomaya Kosh. So it says, Sa va esha purusha vidha eva. So this also is the stairs to reach the purusha. Tasya purusha vidhatam. Anvayam purusha vidha tasya yajureva shirah. ऋग दक्षिणः पक्षः सामोत्तरः पक्षः आदेश आत्मा अर्थर्वाङ्गिरसः पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तद्यप्येष श्लोको भवति. Now here जो पक्षी के सर, दाएं पंख, बाएं पंख, उसकी पूंछ, उन सब का जो कॉनोटेशन है मनोमय कोश में, वहां पर ऋषि ने वेदों को लिया. कहते हैं कि सिर जो है वो यजुर्वेद है, जो दक्षिण पक्ष है और द लेफ्ट विंग वो जो है वो ऋग्वेद है, सामवेद उत्तर पक्ष है, आदेश आत्मा है. आदेश जो वेदों का ब्राह्मण हिस्सा है उसको कहते हैं, क्योंकि ब्राह्मण में कई कर्मकांड हैं, तो एक तरह का वो आदेश है कि ये करिए, ये करिए, ये करिए. अतः और अर्थवांगिरस पुच्छम प्रतिष्ठा. what is that? Okay, that is about the sage Angiras. Now it becomes very obvious that when you go to वेद आपको ये नहीं और वेदों में भी खास करके उपनिषदों का हिस्सा वो आपको या यूं ले ले वेद जो है वो आपको मंत्र देते हैं, आपको कर्म कांड देते हैं, आपको उपनिषद देते हैं। तो जब आप मनोमय की ओर जाते हैं जहां पर विचारणा बहुत महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाती है और मनन और निधिध्यासन which is thinking and contemplation, इसका वेदों में बड़ा महत्व है। तो जब हम मनोमय कोश की तरफ जाते हैं तो बहुत सहज सी बात है कि वेदों के साथ ऋषि ने उस चिड़िया के ढांचे का वर्णन किया है और कहते हैं कि यजुर्वेद जो है वो स्तर है और ऋग्वेद दक्षिण पक्ष वगैरह वगैरह। अब कौन से वेद कौन से पक्ष हैं, इनका क्या कारण है, ये मुझे बहुत स्पष्ट नहीं हुआ है, तो मैं उनके ऊपर कुछ खास नहीं बोलूंगी। आदेश को आत्मा बोलते हैं तो मुझे ये समझ आता है कि आत्मा यहाँ पर इज द अगेन when you are with the Upanishad, it is not the word, it is the context that one has to understand. So here when he says Atma, he is not talking of the Atman, he is talking of the center of the body of the bird, which is what must dictate everything else. So it is the Brahman part of the Ved, which is the center of it. So that is where we get the direction of doing whatever we wish to do in terms of when we want to move towards the Atma. And this is where it says it is Trityo Anuvakha. So the third Anuvaka ends, and thus we have looked at Pranamaya Kosha also. And one thing that I don't remember if I emphasized on this or not, when it begins, it says, Tasya esha eva sharira atma yaha purvasya. The atma of Pranamaya Kosha is Manomaya Kosha. So once you will become conscious about Pranamaya Kosha, you will become conscious about the subtle impacts of the Pranamaya Kosha, and you will reach the Manomaya Kosha. So the Atma of Annamaya Kosha is Pranamaya Kosha, the Atma of Pranamaya Kosha is the Manomaya Kosha, and the Atma of Manomaya Kosha will be Vijnanamaya Kosha. So moving to the Manomaya Kosha, and very shortly, very crisply, the Rishi has talked about Manomaya Kosha. He says, Yato Vacho Nivartante अप्राप्य मनसा सह आनंदम ब्रह्मणो विद्वान न विभेति कदाचनेति. That's all he says about Manomaya Kosha, which means words together with thoughts return from Brahma, unable to reach it. He who knows the bliss of Brahma is never afraid. यतो वाचो निवर्तन्ते अप्राप्य मनसा सह. So this needs some contemplation. Words together with thoughts return from Brahma, unable to reach it. Why so? Why is Rishi saying so? Brahma is again much beyond the thought level, the Manomaya Kosha. Manomaya Kosha for us is very, very important because our entire life is very strongly dictated by the thoughts, by what we think, and we have so many people talking of mind coach and mind balancing and peace of mind, and peace of mind is such an important word. Stress and everything is all mental. So Manomay Kosh is actually very important for us. Now, words together with thoughts, because words are nothing but thoughts expressed. They return from Brahma unable to reach it. Because Brahma is beyond thought. That is all that the Rishi is saying. I was going through some video wherein it crisped and there are a lot of stories around any Upanishad. You will find many stories, and one of the stories that says that it was the Rishi. I'm forgetting the name. He was doing the tapasya, and he goes to his father Bhrigu and asks that what is Atman? So Bhrigu says, go and meditate. So his son goes and meditates, and he starts with the body because that is what he has. So he meditates on the body, then he discovers the Anna part of it, how Anna sustains it, how Anna nourishes it. And so Anna is everything. That's what he feels, and he goes to his father and he says that I think Anna is everything. His father, Anna is Atman. So his father does not reply because he says, no, he needs more contemplation. He says, no, you go back and meditate even. So as he meditates, he goes beyond Annamaya and he comes to the Pranamaya portion. He becomes conscious of all the functions, etc. And he goes back again and says that it is the Pranamaya which is the Atman. The father again says that you need more contemplation, you need to meditate even more. So go back and carry on with your meditation. And this is how he goes, and every kosh he achieves something, and he comes back and he says to the father. The father again asks him to go back. He again sits and meditates. And with every time he meditates, and the moment it is like Purnam, reaching Purnam to that, the kosha opens and he moves on to the next level, just like the CD. So then the Manomaya kosha, because it is not Brahma, its thoughts are not Brahma, mind is not Brahma, hence they return, they are not able to reach Brahma. And then the Rishi says, he who knows the bliss of Brahma is never afraid. And what is he never afraid of? So Shankaracharya says that he's never afraid of birth and death. Because what is birth and death if not the mental construct? Na vibheti. Vibheti is coming from bhaya. Kadachaneti. So there is no fear to such a person. Anandam Brahmano Vidwanam, the one who knows Ananda, there is no fear to him. Shankaracharya says that he has no fear of birth and death. Now, why he is saying birth and death only? I think that's because it's the biggest of fears. And they are nothing but mental construct. And why I have to say they are mental construct? What else is death but not a thought? Do we have any clue of death? Now, death is happening at every level. It is happening every moment. Because if you look at it, every moment, if you allow that, if you are evolving, if you're not evolving, then you're not dying every moment. But if you're evolving, you die every moment, and the next version of you is not the same you. The version has changed. So the older version has died. And if you are not evolving, then you are actually dying every moment because you live in fear, and fear only is death. What else is death but that fear which is not allowing you to stay in bliss, which is not allowing you to be happy, which is not allowing you to feel ecstatic. So you are already dying every moment. And then comes the death of the Sthula Sharira. Again, to that, what else is that but not a mental construct? Who amongst us has really been to that, knows that, and knows that the way death has been perceived in the society, it really is that. None of us really. We have heard a lot of stories and we have seen that when the body dies, the body does not move and the person is no more functioning the way we have been with the person. That is no more happening. It's not happening anymore. And so we call it death. Now that is not fearful for the person who has died really. But for the ones who have not, it is very fearful. One reason is one of the identity that we had has died. That is one reason. And the other reason is mind is very scared of death. Because mind, it definitely gets destroyed. If there are two things that get destroyed on death, it is the mind and it is the body. मन की मृत्यु होती ही है और शरीर की मृत्यु होती ही है, किंतु वाकई मृत्यु होती है, सब कुछ मर जाता है या कुछ तत्व है जो बचा रहता है, इसका फिलहाल हमें पता नहीं है. हमने बहुत चीजें सुन रखी हैं, उनके ऊपर चाहे तो हम विश्वास कर सकते हैं, उनको मान सकते हैं, पर हमारी वो जानने में तो अभी तक नहीं आया है. It has not yet come to our knowing. The Shankar says that he who attains the bliss of Brahma is never afraid of birth and death because he attains immortality. निर्भयता को आत्मन का एक गुण बताया जाता है. जब आत्मन को डिफाइन करते हैं, परिभाषित करते हैं, तो कहते हैं वो जो आदि है, अनंत है. अब आदि और अनंत है तो डेथ और बर्थ का सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता है. वो जो निर्भय है, वो जो अनिकेत है, वो जो अच्युत है, वगैरह वगैरह. तो कई सारे बहुत से शब्द प्रयोग किए गए हैं बिकॉज man needs to be told in the various ways, and also because people, those who have danced in that bliss, they have uttered a few things which has been picked up. So this is what Manomaya Kosha is, and after that, the moment Manomaya Kosha is understood, after the moment the way mind functions, that is understood, the way thoughts overpower us, that is understood, and the moment one is able to create that distance with the thought, you open the treasure of Manomaya Kosha and you move to the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So this is what happens. I take a pause here, and anything that you have till now to share, ask or something, and from Vijnanamaya Kosha and hopefully Anandamaya Kosha, we will do it in the next session. आभा जी, आपने पूछा था who am I, you remember? You're on mute.
Hi. Yes, I did, and I was waiting for my turn to hear the answer.
Who you are depends upon who you think you are, and what do you identify with.
You know, my confusion is these are very abstract topics. You know, even to pinpoint your question is difficult. तो मेरा सवाल ये है कि who am I? अगर आत्मा और परमात्मा एक है, right? मेरी आत्मा, आपकी आत्मा, सब connected है. You go figure out who you are. I go figure out who I am. एक बार हमने अगर figure out किया, then how do we distinguish and differentiate between us and the rest? I don't know if I have, you know.
This question is imaginative, and the answer that I'm going to share also is you can actually term it to be imaginative. The way I have understood, I'm sharing with you. figuring that out is the beautiful thing. In fact, the moment you figure out that there is that common thread in all of us, it's like समुद्र में लहरें उठती हैं, and you will find this example at n number of places, n number of people saying so. समुद्र में लहरें उठती हैं और हर एक लहर जो है वो व्यक्ति विशेष की तरह है. It takes birth and it dies, and it takes birth with certain characteristics, and when it dies, all that again goes back to the ocean. वापस समुद्र में मिल गए. समुद्र वो आत्मा तत्व की जैसा है, और वो लहरें हम लोग हैं जो उठते हैं गिरते हैं, उठते हैं गिरते हैं, उठते हैं गिरते हैं. क्या हम सारी लहरें एक जैसी हैं? नहीं, सारी लहरें अलग हैं, क्योंकि कुछ तो पार्टिकल्स उनमें अलग हो ही जाता है समुद्र का. That is what our conditioning, the physical tendencies and all that plays a role in making us unique. We are not unique at the level of Atman. We are unique at the level of conditioning, and this is a very interesting thing. A lot of people will find it very difficult to digest. हम conditioning की वजह से different, unique है. Yes, we are unique because of the different vrittis that we carry. We are unique because we carry different conditioning. Physically also, if I sing, there is a genetic material in me that makes me sing. And that genetic material is nothing but physical conditioning. And this is true for every form of art and everything that you say. If I have a scientist's brain, that is because of certain configuration of my brain. And so it is the physical conditioning that is creating that difference amongst all of us. So that's the level wherein we are unique. On the level of Atman, we all are one. If you realize that, then you also understand that we have manifested as waves. That is the only way of manifesting. And because that there is that common ground to all of us, that common thread to all of us, you will see rise of compassion in you very strongly. You will be able to see that Atma Tattva in everyone, despite the fact that howsoever nasty they are to you. These days people talk of people go through relationship challenges a lot. You will, despite the fact that the person is very, very nasty to you, you will still be able to see that Atma Tattva in that. You will not feel sad when people cry of their problems in life. Because at that level, you would know that all that cry is nonsense. Only because they have not reached to that level, they are crying. But even in them, there is this Atma Tattva. So the compassion, the karuna will allow you to support them not in terms of their problems, but support them in realizing that their problem itself is a stupid stuff. There is no problem. बुद्ध किसी को उनके कष्टों से नहीं निकालते हैं. बुद्ध उस मन को ही हर लेते हैं जिसमें कष्ट बैठे हैं. कृष्ण जो है वो अर्जुन को युद्ध भूमि में जब वो अपने भाइयों को देख करके कमजोर हो रहा है, तो उसको ये नहीं बता रहे हैं कि तुम इनको कैसे मरने से बचा सकते हो वगैरह वगैरह. वे अर्जुन के उस मन को ही हर ले रहे हैं जो कमजोर हो रहा है, और अर्जुन को वहां ले जाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं जहां पर दुर्योधन भी वही तत्व है जो तत्व अर्जुन है और जो तत्व कृष्ण है. और इसलिए तुम मारो क्योंकि इस फॉर्म में वो जो कर रहे हैं वो कुकर्म है, और अतः इस फॉर्म को उनके मरना ही उचित है. Because what they are doing is they are setting wrong precedents in this entire structure of society. People will forget the Atma Tattva. They will all be swayed because of them. They will all be illusioned because of their behavior. And nobody will even try to move towards Atman. So when this happens, then you know that, I mean, now I'm coming to some touching very sensitive stuff. So all these social sectors or all the political structures wherein we say that गंदगी की सफाई करने के लिए आपको गंदगी में उतरना ही पड़ेगा. So this is a very standard format. No? When you reach to that level, you actually see ये सब जो गंदगी का ड्रामा है ना, ये सब कितना बेवकूफाना है. Is there even a need? What is the need? The need is to cleanse the brain, cleanse the mind. Sorry, the need is to clean the mind. And the moment the mind cleansing happens, सारे political drama खत्म हो जाने अपने आप. What should you clean? Should you clean politics or you should clean the mind? Maharshi Raman used to be asked, because he took birth during the term of British era. So he used to be asked that आप इतने प्रभावशाली हैं, आप स्वतंत्रता के संग्राम के लिए कुछ करते क्यों नहीं? And Maharshi used to answer, how do you know that I don't do anything? And Maharshi is one person who is known that in his entire lifetime, he did not step out beyond 7 kilometers of the place that he is in. If you make him the center and you make a circle with 7 kilometers as radius, he did not step out of that area itself. And Maharshi is saying, how do you know that I do not do anything? Because you know where you really need to touch. That is why if you want to make this world a beautiful place, the only way to make this world a beautiful place is transformation of people, which is transformation of mind. The moment you start going closer to that and you start figuring that out, you start becoming aware of the Atma Tattva in you. This is the movement that will happen in you. It is only because of this compassion that the Bodhisattva, they said that till the time the last blade of the grass also doesn't get enlightenment, I will not go beyond. I will not accept enlightenment. I will not leave this body. I'll put this body to the use of helping others move in that direction. So they agreed to take the pains of the body. They agreed to take the pain of the world because that compassion makes them support others. Krishnamurti was asked, why don't you do anything else? Why do you teach? He says, what else can a bird do but fly? This is what happens. Unfortunately, currently, the story is very simple. That with which you identify, that is who you are. If you identify with the body, you are the body. If you identify with the mind, you are the mind. So who am I? That's why cannot be answered in a positive way. That's why I had answered to one of our fellow person who had asked, what is truth? Because we were talking of opinions. So when you drop all the opinions, all that remains is truth. When you drop all the koshas, what remains is the truth. When you drop ego, what remains is the truth. When you drop identities, what remains is the truth. And for us, then there are two ways to drop identities. One is the Jnana Marg, which we are doing. You understand, I am not the mind, I'm not the body, I'm not the pranamaya kosh, I'm not the this and that. I'm not this identity, I'm not that identity. The other is, I am nothing, I give everything to the Lord, which is the Bhakti Marg. So he is all, who am I? I'm nothing, I'm no one. That's the other way of. That's the Shunyata, and this is the Gyan wave. Gyan wave, you realize you are nothing of all this, and then what you move to is the Purnata. The Purnamada, Purnamidam.
We'll ponder upon this. Thank you for your explanation. Yeah. I saw the wave theory in a different light today. स्वामी सर्वे प्रियानंद का भी बहुत uh, प्रिय एग्जाम्पल है ये. He uses it quite a lot in Advait.
Everybody, you hear Vivekananda, you
Mm.
whosoever. Few examples are very favorite to a few. For example, if you go to Maharshi Ramana,
Gold versus jewelry and wave versus ocean.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
These are very common.
Yeah.
These are the thula examples, the gross examples, wherein mind is able to create the model to grab the essence. The point is you pick the essence. You are able to
Common man की understanding के लिए, at our level. Yeah. So yeah, the way I look at who am I probably is when you understand that the matter in you and I, the point that you brought out, compassion, then I think we become less judgmental uh, towards others' flaws. So वो गुस्सा आना, बुरा लगना, probably one of the factors would be that will go away. We will be able to see the things the way they are rather than good, bad, ugly, or why somebody is doing this way or that way.
you will not become less judgmental. The judgments will get dropped. So this is important to note. The way mind can live is judgment. So it is the property of mind. Mind will automatically always judge. वो आपको देख के इमीडिएटली जज कर लेगा कि अरे आज ऋचा कैसी दिख रही है, ऋचा की आवाज कैसी है, वो क्या बोल रही है. This will automatically happen. What does it mean to be non-judgmental? You do not allow these judgments to interfere in how you act, in how you relate, in whatever you do. That is being non-judgmental. Not that these ideas will not come to you. They will come. It's just that we become totally non-serious about it. ऋचा ऐसी देख रही है, so what? ऋचा ऐसा बोल रही है, so what? ऋचा अच्छी लग रही है, so what? ऋचा बुरी लग रही है, so what? This so what is about being non-judgmental. Not that the otherwise you will keep fighting with your mind. अरे इसमें judgments आ रहे हैं, मुझे भी judgments आ रहे हैं. That is what happens. Anything else? Anyone?
Thanks. Quick one. I don't know. Did you hear to the voice message I had sent on the group?
No. Yeah, I did.
हाँ.
I did.
उसमें वो एक दो examples वही थे. I'm not saying I'm getting enlightened, but I think when you're pondering on all these things, somewhere आपके कुछ खिड़की दरवाजे खुलते हैं. Like, पहले मैं अगर कुछ ऐसा देखती कि okay, किसी ने gender transform किया है, कुछ किया है, तो at least I had my logical brain working कि ये सही है, ये गलत है, ये medically it has impact, so नहीं करना चाहिए ये सब. But this time I thought when I saw, she had her reasons, whatever she did, but I could look at her and appreciate her for the skills that she had, and I could just look at her as a human being. तो things like that, I thought, okay, yeah, ठीक है, मतलब मन की शांति तो है, खलबली नहीं है कि हर चीज को चीर फाड़ के सही गलत करना है और अपना ओपिनियन थोपना है. That thing is slightly, I'm a little calmer on those things. हाँ, वो मुझे लग रहा है.
अशांति ओपिनियन की वजह से होता है, क्योंकि
है
हम
ना?
अपने ओपिनियन के पकड़ लेते हैं ना.
हाँ.
ये ठीक है, अब ये ठीक नहीं है और कोई इसके अगेंस्ट काम कर रहा है, तो कैसे शांत बैठोगे?
करेक्ट.
गलत कर रहे हैं. अभी आप यहाँ पे थोड़े से हल्के हो जाओ कि ये मेरे लिए शायद ठीक नहीं है, मुझे लगता है, क्या पता उसके लिए कैसा है. Shildi, are you getting the answers? Why not to be attached to children?
You asking me?
Shildi.
आपको जो लास्ट वाला जो लाइन था ना, बहुत ही बढ़िया था. लाइक आपने जो, हाँ, इससे क्या होगा, इससे क्या नहीं होगा, कुछ मिला है मैडम. अब मेरे को वापस ना ये वीडियो को देखना पड़ेगा. कुछ तो अच्छा लग रहा है.
ठीक है. हम लोग सोचते बहुत हैं और इसलिए जो आवश्यक कर्म होता है ना, वो हो नहीं पाता है. उसको लेकर के हल्का होना बहुत आवश्यक है, क्योंकि जब हम सोचते हैं तो हम बहुत ज्यादा घुस जाते हैं कि इसका रिजल्ट कैसा होगा, कैसा फल मिलेगा, ये सही होगा, गलत होगा, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह। सही गलत कुछ नहीं होता है, ये जो सही गलत वाला हिसाब किताब है, ये सब अहंकार का हिसाब किताब है। इन द मोमेंट you are able to drop ego and you start operating from the center of love, you just know what is right and you do it. You allow it to happen to you. You don't stop it by thinking. ये पूरा डर का कहानी कहाँ से आता है? ईगो का इसका हिसाब किताब है। लोग भय की वजह से बहुत काम नहीं कर पाते हैं ना, मुझे डर
सही
लगता है।
बात।
भय कहाँ से आता है? भय और कुछ नहीं है, ये अहंकार का ही एक रूप है।
अच्छा,
And it stops you from doing something.
राइट।
के भीतर वो अहंकार ना हो तो आपके भीतर वो भय भी नहीं होगा। भय क्या कहता है? भय कहता है या तो कुछ गलत हो जाएगा, जो मेरे पास है वो छिन जाएगा, या जो मुझे कुछ मिला है वो नहीं मिलेगा, या और भी कुछ कहता है,
राइट, यही चीज
है ना? तो क्या है आपके पास जो छिन जाएगा? किसके पास है? ये शील कौन के पास है जो छिन जाएगा? छीनने का क्या मतलब है? क्या अर्थ है छीनने का? उसी प्रकार मुझे क्या मिलने वाला है, मैं किस बात की आश्वस्ति लेके बैठा हूँ, व्हाट इज माय एक्सपेक्टेशन, वेयर इज दिस एक्सपेक्टेशन कमिंग फ्रॉम, व्हाई एम आई एक्सपेक्टिंग, जो छिन जाएगा। एट द मोमेंट यू बिकम little conscious of these questions, fear will start to disappear.
ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है।
Are we going overboard or can I share something
No, go ahead.
with respect to time? So आज मैं I'm not a big fan of this institution, but फिर भी एक किताब मेरे हाथ लगी तो I was reading. This is the इनका है ISKCON, भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी प्रभुपादा का। तो इसमें ना there's one paragraph which I think connects with the idea that we are discussing कि who am I, by getting to know who am I, how we can enhance ourselves. I think this is what this paragraph is saying. I'll just read it out. Richa, are you there? Yeah, okay, I couldn't see you. The material energy called Maya is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord. And we, the living entities, are the marginal energy of the Lord. Material energy is the Maya, we are the marginal energy. The living entities are described as superior to material energy. Maya se hum human beings slightly better hain. When the marginal energy is in contact with the inferior, which is the material energy, an incompatible situation arises. So मतलब अगर हम material चीजों में indulge करते हैं तो we are kind of depleting. But when the marginal energy, which is us, is in contact with the superior energy, he calls it Hara, it is established in its happy and normal condition. So like we as a battery, where whichever source we plug into, we either deplete or we become better. So this who am I think when you open one by one अपने कोश खोल के हम जैसे जैसे भीतर जाते हैं, so we are getting towards that supreme power. That's the way I understood this paragraph, I think.
Different way of explaining the same thing. It's called human marginal energy because humans have the potential to
go this way or that way. You know, हमारे पास वो है कि जिससे हम plug कर सकते हैं to the right source.
Correct. But the only unfortunate thing is that we know most of the time choose to plug ourselves to the material thing. That's the unfortunate thing. So yeah, that's the way of explaining.
Yeah, I think so. Most texts come to the same thing.
You can use language in so many ways, and that is all right because different brains, different minds, they will understand things differently. The scientist will not understand something in the way a musician will understand or an artist will understand. They will need different language. A child will need a different language, an adult will need a different language. Somebody coming from higher strata of society, economical strata, will need a different language than somebody coming from the economically poorer strata of society. So yes, different language definitely helps It depends upon whom you are talking. It is always about whom you are talking and not what you are talking. Because that's what needs to be answered. प्रश्न क्या है इससे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट होता है कि पूछ कौन रहा है, किसके मन में आ रहा है, मन का ढांचा कैसा है, मन के संस्कार कैसे हैं, कंडीशनिंग कैसी है, and that needs to be, so that's why different ways, that's why we see so much of variety in जब हम रिलीजन की बात करते हैं, not the community, बाकी रिलीजन की जब बात करते हैं तो इतने क्यों हैं, कैसे आ गए, बुद्धिज्म क्यों आ गया, जैनिज्म क्यों आ गया, इस्लाम क्यों आ गया, नानक क्यों आ गए, भक्ति सेंट्स क्यों आ गए, सूफी क्यों आ गए, निसर्गदत्त क्यों आ गए, क्योंकि हम अलग अलग तरीकों से समझते हैं.
Yeah, different paths but leading to the same reality. हर एक को फाइनली वही अचीव करना है, मोक्ष है या अल्टीमेट पीस है, हैप्पीनेस है, वट एवर यू कॉल इट, बट किसी को कोई तरीका ज्यादा समझ में आता है तो किसी को कोई
अचीव नहीं करना है, अटेन करना है.
अटेन करना है. या अवधीतमस्तु.
Anything else that anybody has to say? Okay. Then we close. Let's just sit straight and do the prayer. And if you know, you can say with me. Otherwise, you can just be there. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone. Namaskar.